It's a shame Korra is reaching its end, as I felt that Season 3 was a massive step up from previous installations. Though before I address that, I do want to address an argument from my original video. A small percentage felt that it was unfair to compare ATLA and Korra. I think this misses the key point that ATLA elicited a response that had me engaged with the show. Korra, on the other hand, often felt stilted enough to take me out of the action and question the creative decisions. Don't get me wrong, as a former member of the Confederacy, I am very open to change, and to make it clear, I much prefer a lot of ideas and elements of Korra. Considering both come from the same source, it is absolutely fair game to compare the competence and execution, especially when the show itself also sees fit to remind us on multiple occasions, dedicating entire plot points to the actions of long-dead characters. It's not me doing this arbitrarily, trust me. We cool? We cool. And that's the thing I was really surprised by, that this series was executed on a level of competence I haven't seen since ATLA, which probably has a lot to do with rehiring some of the older writers. Obviously, a series called Change carries a certain expectation, which I felt was mostly met. We see how this world is starting to realise that they've been limiting themselves, perhaps in a way the creative team feels they have. There's a lot of allegories which seem to correspond with the turbulent production of the show. The core theme is adapted reasonably well into every aspect, and really tightens a lot of the narrative and relevance of some of the cast. Zahir is probably the standout character of the entire run of Korra so far. A religious zealot and terrorist who feels like he stepped straight out of an 80s action flick, spouting air nomad philosophy and shitting all over Ron Swanson. We see, however, that he's genuinely passionate about breaking out of his limitations and helping others do the same. The moment of real brilliance is that he unlocks the ability to fly not out of actively seeking greater power, but because he experiences a great loss. It's intensely brief and all the more powerful as a result. This was the villain I was waiting for after Azula, and truthfully I think Zahir would have made for a much better Amon. Feels like he was always supposed to be here. However, the series still suffers from a lot of teething problems in the dialogue. Every episode has a strong second half, but all the expositional and casual dialogue is handled so poorly in the first. It's just tactless. A good example that I feel sums up a variety of issues in this department is when the boys have to tell their grandmother that their parents are dead. They're just like, oh, didn't you know? They're dead. This is literally the least impacting way you could have possibly written that. It's not difficult to simply remove that line of dialogue and have everything written into the character's expressions. I mean, this is animation after all. Not that I can fucking draw or anything, but you know, just bringing that up. I'm also not massively keen on some of the useless supporting cast. Opal, Janora, and Kai aren't particularly well developed or interesting characters and were handed moments that didn't feel earned in the slightest. Varric turns up for no good reason, which is an absolute waste. Lynn's sister was both excellently voiced and written, but while I personally really enjoyed that mini-arc, I didn't feel it served to expand on Korra's personal journey, which has been left sorely wanting. Korra doesn't have any really interesting development whatsoever until the last 2 or so episodes. Again, a lot of these characters had no right taking up as much time as they did, and as a result it means that the character we really needed to be invested in lost a lot of good opportunities. I can once again only hope that Season 4 really does her justice, but Christ, article titles like this are not warranted in the slightest, as much as I'd like them to be. However, I absolutely approve of where the series ends up in regards to Janora and Korra. It's very deliberate that Janora looks like Aang with her tattoos. It shows that the world can create its own heroes regardless of lineage. Korra is truly being usurped as an icon, and what that means for the series could be very heavy material. Also very glad they didn't fuck it up last minute with dialogue like, Korra, why are you sad? I guess we don't need an avatar after all, oh no! There's more good stuff. The designs of the Art Deco locale are stunning and finally makes better use of the 1920s flavour they were going for. Some of the animation is truly top notch, and overall the series really makes you feel at least something. It's still the case that this is mostly for people who are already quite invested, and sadly we can't go back and fix Season 1 now. Sure, we can blame Nickelodeon for a multitude of reasons on this one, but ultimately I don't blame any of the fellas who gave up watching after Season 1, or Season 2. Not that I'm personally complaining though. I mean, yes, I'd easily bet you all the money that if Aaron and Elizabeth Earhart came back to help write for the show, the quality would fucking skyrocket. But you know, right now, we got this.
You gotta deal with it!
See, that's funny, because it's a meme, huh? You should subscribe and Patreon.